Hey, Randy Joe here, and this is 1001 Reviews, the series where I plan on reviewing every single album from the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. And today we are looking at Johnny Cash's 1969 album, At San Quentin. Now, Johnny Cash at San Quentin was released in 1969 underneath the Columbia label, produced by Bob Johnston with art direction Henry Fox, nationality USA, and a running time of 36 minutes and 47 seconds. Now, to be quite honest, this review won't be too long because the context of this album is really the main reason as to why it is so fantastic, rather than the actual lyrical and musical aspects of this album. Because most of the songs on this album are fairly short, coming in at about 2 minutes to 4 minutes each, and the result of that is a very brief, just over half-hour album of mostly songs that are either covers of other artists or previously released Johnny Cash songs. And quite honestly, every single one of these is extremely well produced and sounds just as fantastic as the day that they were recorded. It feels very much like you were there within the audience, and Johnny Cash's voice is just as clean and smooth as can be, and the way he emotes in these lyrics is as strong as ever. But that being said, most of these songs are very typical of Johnny Cash and very much what you'd expect to hear from Johnny Cash. What makes this album so fantastic, like I said, is the context of it and the overall theme of it. Because being called At San Quentin, it is very obvious that this live album is being recorded at San Quentin, the jail. So with that in mind, the audience members that make up the cheering and screaming throughout this recording are actual prisoners from the San Quentin jail. And because of that, this makes for a very enjoyable and interesting listen, because you're listening to the screams of these prisoners as they enjoy someone who's very similar to them in a way, who is Johnny Cash, this very honest, hardworking American man who has dealt with a lot of trouble throughout his life with the law as well. And Johnny Cash serving as this idol of theirs really makes for an amazing experience, because the way he puts on this charm and emotes to the audience is so strong and so heartfelt. In fact, the best points of this album are parts where Johnny Cash isn't even singing, but rather just talking to these different prisoners. He talks to random prisoners about, for example, at one moment, he mentions that one of them is drinking something from a bottle, and he's talking to them about it and asking what are they drinking. And the prisoners reply that they're drinking tea in these large purple bottles. And it's something as simple as that that makes it really interesting, because he's just having very straightforward conversations with them, but it feels so casual and comfortable. There's no barrier between this group of locked up men and Johnny Cash, a free man. The longest track on this album is at 7 minutes in length, but only 2 minutes of this entire track is actual singing and music being played. The song of which I'm talking about is Darlin, Compassion, which he sings with his wife, June Carter, who sounds fantastic, by the way, singing in this 2-minute track with Johnny Cash. Their voices really do complement each other quite well, and she has just a very angelic voice that could stand on its own. But even still, after this 2-minute song is done and played in this 7-minute track, the rest of it is Johnny Cash just talking to these prisoners, and it feels just so honest and down to earth. And I think that's why this album is so effective. The amount of communication between the audience and Johnny Cash is remarkable. And speaking of this prison, Johnny Cash actually wrote a song named after it called San Quentin. He performs not once but twice on this album, which to me seems a bit strange, because not only is it played twice in one album, but it's actually played right after the first one. It is both the 6th and 7th track on this album, both San Quentin, with the second one being called San Quentin Reprise, where he just, again, plays it again as an encore, making jokes the second time around, saying he likes it so much that he might even go on to sing it a third time, which I'm glad he doesn't, because 2 is enough, even though I do think this song is incredibly well written and fantastic to the ear. You also have one of Johnny Cash's most infamous songs, A Boy Named Sue, which is, at the end of the day, a very silly novelty song that is just about that. It is about a boy named Sue who is named Sue by his father, and throughout his life he has a strong hatred for his father because of this reasoning. And it's very silly, and it's a very specifically niche song, I would say, but even still, it is very humorous and very full of the humor that Johnny Cash employed in a lot of his music. So overall, when it really comes down to this whole album though, it is entirely based around the scenery of this album, San Quentin, and the audience that currently resides inside of it. So honestly, I do love it for that reason, and I think listening to this thing and it's only half an hour long is such a unique and interesting experience, and feels so warm too as well. There's really a lot to cherish and enjoy about this album. It feels very much like a time capsule of sorts for San Quentin. So overall, the soft rating of this album for me came to an 8.7 out of 10, and the hard rating I will harden up to a 9 out of 10. It's a pretty great album, and for that I will also give it an E for essential. It is an essential listen, it's worth a listen, it's only half an hour, and it's a pretty enjoyable half an hour at that. Anyways, that pretty much does it for this review. Let's go ahead and see what the next album we are going to listen to is in the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. Alright, random number generator, 1 to 1001, generate. 562 is the next album we are listening to, which is 562 being Picture Book by Simply Red. So go ahead and give that a listen, and I will review that in exactly 1 week from now. Anyways, like this video if you liked this review, and as well as leave your comments about this album if you have listened to it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you would like, also please subscribe if you want to join along in listening to every album from the 1001 Albums to Listen to Before You Die book. And my name is Randy Joe, and I'm signing off.